This is a simplified fingerstyle version of The Merry Old Land of Oz from The Wizard of Oz, written in 1939 by Harburg and Arlen. I have it capoed up here on the 3rd fret. Everything I say will be relative to this capo. If I say I'm playing a C, it's going to look like this, even though that's truly an E flat, which is the key that they sing it in the movie. I play a good part of this song in a 2-string format, which means I'm playing 1 string in the bass and 1 string for the melody, and no chords and notes in between. These first 4 chords are a C major 7th, which I use a B in the bass, and then a D minor, where I use a D in the bass, and then a G, which I use a G in the bass. So it's C, B, D, and G. And for the melody, for the C, it's C, E. And then for the B in the bass, it's a G in the melody. And then for the D in the bass, it's F, G on the 1st string. And then when you get to the G in the bass, it's the D note in the melody. The second set of chords is a C, E minor, which I hit an E in the bass, and then it's an F and a G. And the melody with that is for the C, it's C, E, and then you hit the E in the bass, and you slide from the G up to the B, and then when you go to the F in the bass, it's also an F in the melody, and then a G in the bass, and there is no melody. So these first 2 phrases are this next run starts with a C, hitting a C and an E in the melody, and then you go to an A minor, so you hit an A in the bass, and you slide from the G to the B, and this next chord is an F. And that F looks like a D, but it's moved up to the 5th fret, and you play 5, 7, 8, and then the 2nd string, which you've already got down here in your D shape, and then you go back down to the C chord, hitting the E note as your melody, and then this D minor, you're hitting the F as the melody, and then the G chord, hitting the D as your melody, and then back to the C. And then in between the phrases, you hit an F chord. So I just hit strings 2, 3, and 4, and then repeat. So the second half looks like this. And then after the second time through, you go to a G, and then to the break, which is an F chord. The first 4 chords of the break are an F, a B7, G minor, and an A7. For this part of the song, I break away from the 2-string format and I play more of the chord. For the F chord, you're playing your 3rd string as your melody. Then you get to your B7. You play strings 3, 2, 3. Then you go to a G minor, playing your 4th string as your melody, and then you go to an A7th, hitting your 3rd string as your melody, that open G. All right, then the second half of the break is a D minor chord, a B flat chord, and a G, and a G7. So what you're doing for the D minor chord, I'm just playing strings 4 and 5, 5th fret on the 5th string, 3rd fret on the 4th string. You can hold these down if you want to play both. And then I go to this B flat, just playing strings 5 and 4. You can hold down 6 if you want. And then you go to a G, playing your 3rd string as your melody, and then a G7, playing your 3rd string as your melody. And then you just go back to the song. So the break looks like this. They play this song about a dozen times while they're in the Emerald City getting cleaned up ready to see the wizard.